Pune, India in 2023. For thousands of students packed into these crowded hostels, the world shrinks down to two incredibly difficult exams, the JEE for engineering and the NEET for medical school. The daily routine is a relentless cycle of endless lectures, grueling mock tests, and intense academic pressure. To blow off steam, 4 friends sharing a hostel developed an unusual coping mechanism. Aditya, Yash, Rohit, and Vinay would lock themselves in their dorm rooms, dim the lights, and try to contact the dead using Ouija and Charlie boards. 3 of them were genuinely fascinated by the supernatural, but Vinay, the medical student of the group, viewed everything through a strictly scientific lens. Every time an experiment yielded no results, he ruthlessly mocked his friends, calling their attempts childish and their beliefs ridiculous. Vinay possessed a deep, ego-driven need to assert his intellect. He actively sought out ways to publicly embarrass his friends and prove that the unknown simply did not exist. One night, scrolling through YouTube, the group stumbled upon videos detailing the legends of Holker Bridge. Local lore warned of intense, unexplained activity in the area. The bridge sat exactly 7 kilometers away from their hostel. Because it was the middle of the academic term, none of the boys had a car or a motorbike on campus. To settle their paranormal debate, they agreed to a punishing physical challenge. They would walk the entire 7 kilometers on foot to ensure they reached the bridge exactly at 3 a.m., a time when entities are supposedly at their most active. Leaving at 1 in the morning meant breaking curfew and risking their academic standing. They stepped out of the heavily monitored safety of their academic bubble and into the dark, unprotected streets of the city. The traffic and noise of Pune vanished entirely by the time they reached Holker Bridge. The structure stood quietly over the river, surrounded by a heavy, unnatural silence. They stood on the road for 20 minutes without seeing a single shadow or hearing a strange sound. Smug and completely confident he had won the debate, Vinay goaded his friends down off the safety of the pavement and directly into the pitch-black woods beneath the bridge. In many ghost hunting communities, investigators warn against wearing strong perfumes in haunted locations. Artificial scents are thought to act as a beacon, drawing in wandering entities that might otherwise pass by unnoticed. Annoyed by Vinay's arrogance, Rohit pulled a bottle of cologne from his backpack. He handed it over and dared Vinay to drench his clothes in the scent, walk up to the adjacent cemetery, and jump the wall to wait inside alone. Vinay grabbed the bottle without hesitation and sprayed himself down. He crossed the line from a passive skeptic into an active target, deliberately baiting anything in the cemetery to prove him wrong. He scaled the short cemetery wall and dropped into the dense shadows on the other side. Outside, his 3 friends stood in the dead silence, waiting anxiously as a full 40 minutes ticked by with no sign of him. Panicking, they finally crossed the wall themselves. Sweeping their phone flashlights across the dirt, they found Vinay lying unconscious on the ground. He was completely stripped of his clothing. They scrambled to wake him. When Vinay opened his eyes, he had no memory of taking off his shirt or pants. The group searched the immediate area until a flashlight beam caught the fabric high above them, tangled neatly in the branches of a massive tree. They rushed back to the hostel, terrified but physically unharmed. A few nights later, while studying in their room, suddenly Vinay screamed and violently hurled his textbook across the floor. His eyes rolled completely backward into his skull. His chest heaved with unnatural heavy breaths, and a chilling smile stretched across his face. The dark energy they provoked at Holker Bridge had followed them inside. The terrifying reality of a paranormal attachment shattered the safe, scientific walls of their dorm room. Desperate to hide the incident from their strict warden and their parents, Aditya and Rohit restrained Vinay while chanting prayers to calm him down. The next morning, they quietly smuggled him out of the hostel and took him to a local temple. The head priest performed a series of rituals and delivered a grim assessment. During those 40 minutes in the cemetery, 3 distinct entities had latched on to Vinay. To break the hold, the priest tied a black protective thread around Vinay's wrist. He gave strict instructions that Vinay must return to the temple every single Tuesday to recite specific prayers and keep the entities suppressed. For a month, Vinay followed the rules, and the strange episodes stopped. But as the critical NEET medical exams drew closer, the overwhelming need to study consumed his schedule, and he abandoned his weekly temple visits entirely. The fierce demands of securing a medical career overtook his survival instincts. He prioritized a test score over the fragile spiritual routine keeping his mind intact. The exams came and went, and Vinay's results were poor. Almost immediately after the test, the hollow, erratic behavior returned, leaving him prone to sudden bouts of bizarre laughter and deep dissociation. Defeated, he packed his bags and moved back to his hometown. Just days later, his friends in Pune received a devastating. They knew he was never one to stress heavily over bad grades, leaving them to wonder if the suicide was caused by the disappointment of failing the NEET, or if the entities from the cemetery had finally consumed him. His friends still replay that night at Holker Bridge, questioning what happens when ego overrides caution in places with a dark history. Demanding proof from the dark does not protect you from it. You might look into an empty cemetery and see nothing, but something inside might see you and follow you home.